Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Here we are with our another update from the AFL. We're already up to round 17. It's hard to believe. We just had a great round of football over the weekend and we have another game coming up tomorrow. So I'm recording this one a little bit later. I like to do that because I like to see who's the ins and outs for each team. A good example is Richmond. Richmond have got Dusty back and what's the other guy called? The one that starts with P. But anyway, I can't remember at the moment. But anyway, welcome to the channel. Please like and subscribe. As usual, I will also have Flash Crow's tips on the bottom. Make sure you go over and show some love to him as well. And let's have a look at what happened in round 16 and then we'll get into our tips for this week. So on the Thursday, I think it was, we had an absolute blowout between Richmond and the Lions. So my team was absolutely dominant. Richmond never shot anything over the bow. They looked sluggish, 53 points. I know it's a tough trip to come up to the Gabba to play the Lions. They've won 40 out of 42, I think now. But yeah, it's a bit of a fortress, but they were definitely outclassed. Then we had the draw between Sydney and Geelong. I picked Geelong. Sydney should have won. Sydney were wasteful. They missed so many shots at goals that they should have kicked, and they were lucky to get away with the game. I think the Swans are back. I think Geelong are still falling away. Adelaide had a really good win against North Melbourne, as was expected. They're a really good team, Adelaide, at the moment, and they look like they're going to be in the finals and probably going to cause a few headaches for a lot of teams. Bulldogs had a good win over Fremantle. I said last week I should never pick Fremantle. I said that I'll never pick them again 3 weeks ago, and then I pick them. And then, of course, the Bulldogs had a really good game with Ugle Hagen. He was fantastic. Collingwood absolutely destroyed the Suns, who didn't put up a whelp. All right, so I didn't think that they could beat Collingwood, but they have had some pretty close games in the last 2 years. But they looked terrible. News is broken that Stewie Jew looks like he might be losing his job. I hope it's not true. I hope they stick fat with the guy. And hopefully all the reports of Hardwick going to the Suns are wrong. But Pye's still on the fly, looking good. Got a couple of players coming back into the team. We've got Sidebottom and DeGoey coming in back in this week. So a couple of players might have to move out. Port Adelaide had after the siren win against Essendon. I've been saying for a couple of weeks now that Essendon are sneaky. They're actually playing pretty good football, Essendon. Couldn't convert, which is probably one of their biggest problems. 2 metre Peter didn't do anything, and they don't seem to have anyone else. But their defence is quite good. They've got a good, tenacious team. They don't give up. Port, well, what can you say about Port? 12 wins in a row. Houston launched an absolute Saturn rocket from 55 to win the game after the siren. So awesome. You can't beat energy in a football team, and Port have definitely got that. Carlton beat the Hawks. Again, you just don't know who's going to show up with Hawks, and you could have said the same thing about Carlton last week as well. So Carlton with a good win. I don't know if they're back, but two pretty mediocre teams. Real slugfest at Traeger Park in Alice Springs. GWS got over the line over Melbourne. Melbourne just can't kick a goal for some reason. 45 points. Terrible. I think they've only kicked over 100 points 3 times this year. But I think the average score is about 65, 70. So I don't rate that. I'm still not writing Melbourne off. Number one pressure team, number one tackling team, really good midfield, really great defence, just can't kick a goal. And they've lost the hairdo I think he did his ankle or something, so the hairdo is going to be out, the Buffon. So he might be out for a little bit, and I saw some footage of Oliver possibly redoing his hamstring again. So that's definitely going to affect them. Good win by the Giants. Giants might actually push their way into the 8. They've got a couple of tough games coming up, but if they can play well, like they have been, they've got a good shot. And then the Eagles pushed St Kilda all the way to the end. Good to see the Eagles put up a bit of a fight. St Kilda blew them away with a bit of talent at the end and a bit more running, but that wouldn't be very impressive to Ross Lyons, in my opinion, seeing that most teams are winning by more than 10 goals. So there we are. That's what happened last week. Our ladder still looks the same. Collingwood on top, 2 goals in front with Port. Lions next, 2 goals, 2 games in front of Melbourne. St Kilda, Western Bulldogs, Crows, Essendon, Geelong, Gold Coast, Fremantle, all pushing to get into the 8. Suns are still in it. Swans are still in it. And the rest, I think you can forget about it. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks to see what happens. So let's get into our tipping for round 17. Good round of football. Lots of really tight matches. Starting tomorrow night with Richmond taking on the Swannies at the MCG. I think the Swans are back. I think Richmond are on the slide. Like I said, they've got 2 players back with Dusty, and I still can't think of his name. But I'm actually going to go to the Swans. I think the Swans' pressure was really good on the weekend. So I'm going to go to the Swans to beat Richmond by, let's go, 22 points. So that's a warning game for Richmond, and I'm going to go the Swans. On the Friday, we've got Collingwood against the Bulldogs. How can you tip against Collingwood? It is at Marvel Stadium, and Bulldogs are playing quite well. Are they as good as Collingwood? I don't think so. So I'm going to go the Pies to beat the Bulldogs. The only issue is Marvel, and Collingwood have been up on the fly for a long time now. So maybe, like I said, a loss can also be a win for these good teams. The Lions have the West Coast at the Gabba. So how far? How many? 99% to 1%. So how far are the Lions going to beat the Eagles? If they don't show up, it could be another 200-point flogging or something like that. So Lions to beat the West Coast Eagles. Very close game between the Giants and Hawthorn at Giants Stadium. So again, you've got to go with Giants. Giants are in much better form than Hawks at the moment. You never know what Hawthorn team you're going to get, but you do know with the Giants they're quite consistent. They've lost quite a few games by less than a kick or 2 kicks, so at least they're trying. So Kingsley's doing a good job up there, and I can see the Giants beating the Hawks there. Another danger game for both of these teams, St Kilda and Melbourne. Melbourne dropped that one. Well, that drops them out of the 4. St Kilda can hang on and stay in the 8 if they win this one. I just have a lot of faith in Melbourne. St Kilda can't score either, so I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. But I just have more trust in Melbourne's midfield, and also Melbourne's back line. And St Kilda can't kick a goal unless it's 2 metres out. Then we go on the Saturday, we go over to Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide against the Gold Coast Suns. Port Adelaide are absolutely flying. Again, I wouldn't write the Suns off, because they do have a bit of a rep of coming out of nowhere and beating good teams. But the way that they're playing, you can't even go anywhere near them. Geelong versus North Melbourne. Okay, well, Geelong at GM HBA Stadium should win that one quite easily. if North Melbourne didn't have the West Coast Eagles, they would be under the pump big time, particularly with all their off-field troubles that they're having with Clarko. So they're just so lucky that they have the West Coast Eagles at the moment. Then we go to a really good game between Essendon and Adelaide. They've got Adelaide as favourites here. I don't know why. Like I said, Essendon are pretty sneaky at the moment. They're doing a lot right, but Adelaide are playing really well. They've got stars left, right and centre. Could be a toss-up game. It's a bit of a warning game for Adelaide, but I'm going to go Adelaide. It is hard to travel, but they should get the job done against Essendon. And now to, how the hell can you pick this one? So we've got on the Sunday at Fremantle, Carlton. Carlton, I think they've won the last two. So they're on a bit of a roll. Against Fremantle. Which Fremantle? The one that played last week, the one that played 2 weeks ago, the one that played 4 weeks ago? Who knows what they're going to do? Same with Carlton. Who knows what they're going to do? I have absolutely no idea who's going to win this. So if Fremantle don't show up and Carlton show up, it's going to be 60 points. If Fremantle show up and Carlton don't show up, it's going to be 60 points. I'm going to flip a coin. So let's go. Fremantle can be heads and Carlton can be tails. So I'm going Fremantle. I wouldn't pick them normally, but let's go Fremantle to beat Carlton. So there we go. There are my tips for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I will leave Flash Crow's tips as well. And at the end of the video, I will list where we are, how many points we have, and what we're tipping this week. Hope you enjoy your weekend. I hope your team wins. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you then.